Leadership lessons from the performing arts. This isn't your typical presentation. We're going to tell you stories, and in those stories are lessons about leading in today's organizations. So sit back, relax, listen, learn, and enjoy.
Everything I learned about business, I learned in the theater. And I thought, boy, how powerful that is. What a great analogy. Because as you're sitting there looking at it, you're going, wow. Then you get to come up. And they invite you to come through the backstage and onto the stage. And this is what you see. You stand out on the stage and you look out. And you look out at the Opera House. And I couldn't help but think when I was there, how many stories have been told? I was thinking about how many different stories are told there. I also had this thought of how many stories do we tell in life and how many stories do we tell in business? Not just as HR professionals, but as a leader. You've got to be able to marshal this story and think about it. You can't just kind of walk on stage and begin talking. You've got to decide what it is you're talking about. You're really scripting it out if you think about it that way. So what are some of the signs of a good story? What are some of the elements? Well, a good story is going to be timely. It's going to mean something to the issue that you're currently talking about. So let's go. Let's talk a little bit about some stories and some performances. 2 years ago, we were up in New York. We had gone to a conference. We'll talk a little bit more about that throughout the hour. But we went to see the play, Nice Work If You Can Get It, while we were up there. And there was one scene in the play, it starred Matthew Broderick, and he was dancing flawlessly throughout this one scene, he and his leading lady. And they were going up on chairs and tables, and you're sitting there watching it going, how did they do that? How did they just get up there and start doing this? And what I took away from that, as I started thinking about it later on, is in business, just like in the theater, you've got producers, you've got directors. And sometimes, in fact, most times, your managers are going to have to be wearing both of those hats. And if you're a manager of people, you're wearing both of those hats. But in HR, we know, even if we don't have large staffs that we're responsible for, we've got to guide our managers to make sure that they're finding the right people and they're putting the right people in the right jobs and that they're picking the best talent. And if the talent needs a little bit of work, they know how to polish that talent to get them up there. At the same time, they have to be a director. And so they have to be able to direct the performance of all of their employees. So if we look at this a little bit more, do you have the right people in the right jobs? Are you casting appropriately? Do you know what that talent is that you need? I need somebody that can sing and dance. Trust me, you don't want me. I can dance, but I'm not going to open my mouth and sing for you. It's not a talent that I have, and that's not a talent I can develop because I just don't have that natural ability. Let's kick it up and let's change direction. And let's rock and roll a little bit. Again, I promise I'm not going to sing to you. I only do that to terrorize my child and my cat. But what it was a multimedia presentation. What grabbed me in the beginning, though, they had a screen up, and you're kind of going, what's going to happen? Up on the screen flashes a picture of a cell phone. So, of course, everybody goes diving. We got to turn our cell phones off. And this voice comes out going, if you have one of these devices, keep it. Don't turn it off. Take pictures, shoot video, enjoy, have a good time. And I'm going, wow, this is more like a concert inside a new, a Broadway production. And that's exactly what they were trying to do. They played music. They had this multimedia presentation going on. They had this light show that was out of the 60s. And it was really an incredible experience. These are the words that I thought of And I hope you take note of some of these words and take them away with you. Because when you step outside the box, when you break some of the rules, when you do things outside of convention, when you mix some of your experiences with imagination, you could really have a great experience. And too often we're afraid to do that in the business world, and I think particularly as HR people. We really sometimes feel that we're handcuffed and we've got to do things a certain way. But let people see the innovation and the creativity that you can have. 2 years ago, after Hurricane Sandy had hit the East Coast, up in New York and New Jersey, there was the concert 12-12-12. My husband and I were watching it. And Mick Jagger comes on, and he's still, he doesn't have the length of time that he can stay up there and bounce around the stage. But boy, he can get up there for 2 acts and still have the same level of energy that he had back in the 60s. And then we were watching Eric Clapton kind of strumming his guitar, and my husband said, he looks like he's doing it without any effort. And it got me thinking 2 things. Yes, there's the energy and the passion, but we all know nothing's effortless. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of practice to be able to get up there and do something. And what came to my mind was the time that I heard a manager say, anybody can do HR. And it's like, okay, get up here and try it. Yeah. How wonderful to be able to continue to do work that you're passionate about. And it makes me think about, what are our workforces like? Are they coming to work every day, and are they bringing passion and energy with them? Are you?
So we're learning about this, and our heads are spinning with all of this new information as we learn about how this world of publishing is changing. And we also, it occurred to us as we're learning about this, about the idea of just the world in general, technology. We also need to manage them ourselves. Sometimes don't you just want to dig your heels in and say, enough, 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 and let's just keep things the way they are? But what good does that do? We have to be able to grow, change, develop, learn, add new things to our repertoire. But most importantly, I believe, as HR professionals, is learning how to help our organizations, how to get managers to see what worked perhaps even last year isn't going to work this year. Our employees are changing. So what we want to leave you with about this story is, what are you doing? How are you adapting? How are you helping the people that you manage, or that you lead, or that you support, make the changes that they need to be successful? I was at Wolf Trap last summer, and as you know, at Wolf Trap, it frequently is 210 degrees with 500% humidity. I could be exaggerating a little, but it was very hot and very humid. So I'm at the concert, trying to stay cool, and they're up performing, and I noticed, I was surprised, they came out wearing long sleeve shirts and jackets. And I thought, oh, it's very hot now. No ties, fortunately, but they were performing under very difficult conditions. And about 3 songs into the performance, one of the performers just flopped down on the stage. And at first I thought maybe it was part of the show. You don't know. But then when I saw his team members pick him up and carry him out, I realized that it wasn't part of the show. But they never missed a beat. They took him out. Somebody else filled in for his part. They kept singing. They kept dancing. The show went on. And he came back in a few minutes, did a solo, was fine. And they did tell us that it was dehydration from heat. I think they took their jackets off at that point. But what it reminded me of in our world is the whole idea of teams and how we can work together. I've watched it since the beginning, so has Cornelia. We frequently talk about it. We really get into the characters and what's going on. Well, it even became more personal a couple of years ago when Cornelia found out that Dan Larson, who is the stylist on The Good Wife, is a family friend. Dan Larson, the stylist, was honored as the best stylist on television. And the award was presented by Juliana Margulies, who is the good wife on the show, plays the good wife. She actually presented the award. And Christine Baranski, who plays the other female lead, came all the way across town from Lincoln Center, where she was performing, to be in the audience to support Dan. What a statement that made. That they know that he makes them look good every week on that show. He dresses them and all the other people on the show, but how much they appreciated that. And so what this reminded us of was the idea of knowing who your stakeholders are, knowing who the people that you support are. So who are your stakeholders? Who are the people you support? Do you think about this? I see many of you nodding that you do. That's great. You don't go helping other people. You're supposed to make me look good. Well, no. Aren't we all in the same company? Aren't we all in the same organization? Don't we all have the same end goals? So if you know who your stakeholders are, you know who it is you're supporting, you know who you want to make look good, like Dan Larson does on The Good Wife, I think it will help you be more focused and a better HR professional. Cornelia mentioned she wasn't going to sing. I could maybe sing, but I cannot dance in any way, shape, or form, especially not what they do. The control, the balance that they show is just unbelievable. When you watch ballet, to me, one of the most startling things is all they have to do, all they have to work with is their bodies and the music to tell a story. There are no words. And talk about working together. One of the things that amazes me more than anything is many times in a ballet, the principal dancers will be in the center of the stage, performing beautifully. And all around the outside of the stage are the supporting dancers who stand perfectly still, watching the principal dancers. And sometimes they're standing on point. What we want to just share with you here is about the idea of balance. Ballet dancers show incredible amounts of balance. But don't we have the same issues? The whole balance idea that we're all struggling with in our organizations. So how do you work with your employees on balance? How do you support them? What kind of culture do you have? Does your culture honor balance? Or is your culture one that requires people to be available 24/7? Which I think has gotten to be very, very difficult for many people who never turn off. The idea of disconnecting, of being more creative, being more in the moment, if you take some time away, can sometimes make a big difference. So how do you support your employees? You watch the National Symphony Orchestra learning from the conductor. And the conductor is the perfect metaphor for leadership. Conductor of a symphony does not make one note of music, him or herself. All they can do is bring out the music from the people in front of them. They know how to get the best from people. So how do you bring out the best in your people? You have to know who they are, you have to know what they do, you have to know their strengths in order to point your baton in the right direction and get that person what they need to step up. There's a marvelous quote from a former president, which I think summarizes beautifully what leadership is all about. And this is what we all want: to be able to help our people to grow and to change, to learn and to become more than they currently are. And then finally, we would like to say that we think you are beautiful, but we really want to thank you for being the great HR people that you are, and know that you're going to do even greater things in your career after today and after what you learn. And if you have any questions, we'd be glad to take them. If not, thank you very much.